Yeah, so basically you've all been invited in some way over email, perhaps, or some of you I've talked to already on a call to try to introduce this project. So the World Bank wound up funding a little bit of an extension to our rangeland inventory project that just ended in December 2021 with Kaznow and with this company, Artec, as the private operator of this particular chunk of funding. So it's very similar to the previous work that's been done with rangeland inventory. However, we are expanding to a little bit of a different region. So including the Pavlodar Oblast and the East Kazakhstan Oblast with one farm in each area. Obviously, you guys all know each other, but since we've I guess last left, I have taken the DSS code from Dr. Chi and basically published it as an app and added some more layers that were part of the what I call cause layers or potential cause layers, which is the CCI5 fire, burned area, and some other models like ERA5 wind to try to add on to this DSS with a little bit more information to help farmers sort of get an idea of why the stocking rates may be going up or down. And I've also updated the data, so we're now using the latest net primary productivity, which I think is 2020 or 2021. So everything basically shifted forward by 1 year. And we've already submitted one preliminary report based on the remote sensing data. So basically looking at these sites plus or minus 50-kilometer radius, trying to identify the sort of primary risk factors for rangeland. And there's this report that's attached to the agenda of my my analysis, I guess, or comments on each one of those layers as part of the DSS. We also have generated, as part of our contract with Kaznow, a prototype for the survey app, which is sort of customized for this project. And it's able to have like a plant survey for transect, all of the plant census stuff that we were doing, in addition to the adding of images, geolocation, data validation, so people can't accidentally put the wrong thing in those fields. And that's basically running. We just are adding questions to it, and then we will localize it. What I've also talked to Ina about is revisiting Collect Mobile and trying to get this into a fully integrated solution. So Collect Mobile and the DSS app using the remote sensing data and Google Data Studio and open source or open data backend with Google Sheets. And prior to today, I've shared all the code. You all have access to all the code and all of the prior data from 2019 and 2021 and the report from 2019. So one of the core principles of this project in 2022 is nothing is proprietary. All of the products are open. And I think a lot of what we are going to do, since the DSS is pretty much pretty much done, relatively speaking. And, same thing with the survey app and the data. We have a lot of data so far. So I think a lot of what we'll be doing is trying to promote the usage of the system and really fine tuning it and polishing it into something that the farmers can actually use. What else do I have? So has everybody looked over the introduction and the attachments in the agenda? We also have an Asana project that is basically keeping track of all of the to-do list items, and it's sort of the place that I'm keeping track of all of the roadmap of what to do next on the DSS and on the survey app, and all trying to prioritize our wish list of features there. So yeah, I was hoping that Dulcim would be here by now. I don't know if you're available, Dulcim, over the phone to sort of talk about the project structure and how World Bank fits into it. If not, he will be here.
Stuart, I'm trying to get in through my computer, so give me another 5 minutes and I'll be with you.
Okay. So we have the field team that we used in 2019. Basically the same people. That's who we had in our office, talking to them today, getting them kind of acquainted with everything. Relatively speaking, the number of places that we have to go is much less than last year or in 2019 so far. And that's where you guys come in, sort of want to know what you might want to have out of this data, this project this year. What were the pain points or the things to improve that you might know about off the top of your head? What kind of level of involvement are you interested in? And lastly, I wanted to put Inna on the spot a little bit to talk about what FAO is doing with the Central Asian Natural Resources Atlas and how we can sort of merge these two data streams together.
Well, Stuart, I guess I'll start a little bit. I retired into December from USDA, so now I'm just a private citizen. So yes. In some ways it makes my life a lot easier because now I don't have to worry about USDA's requirements with COVID and everything. But it also means I have no financial resources. But I'd like to contribute what I can to the project. And the one thing I guess I'd start with that we were not able to do under the original project, because it was a survey-based project, but that was really look at productivity over time on a site, and which would be really helpful if the project allows for it from an ecological or from a ranch management standpoint, would be establishment or finding some existing exclosures where livestock are not allowed to graze, and then sampling those maybe 3 times in the year with both your ground-based transects and remote sensing. Say something in early May, at the beginning of the, once the growing season has started, early July, and then early September, 3 times of the year. And then you can really refine both inside the exclosure and outside. And then you could refine your remote sensing data to look at a common problem we see, and that is that brown dead standing biomass, if there's any, will mask your green biomass and your forage availability. And so, and the other option is then, because you're putting in climate and temperature and a lot of other data, if you take that May data, you may be able to develop projections of where the growing season is actually going to go, and warn the ranchers that they're already in drought, they're below standard predictions, or they're going to have a bumper crop year.
Maybe Diana, you can talk about, do you have any ideas about early warning system with farmers? Is that possible? Is there something already, as you were talking earlier about there being able to be, replacement for Koldao or something like that, that might have active outreach to farmers?
Sure. Right now we're in-house of the KGS. We're developing alternative decision platform system for the Ministry of Agriculture instead of Koldao. So I can send you information to everybody, so you can be familiar with the technical details of the project. So for now, KGS is actually moving in direction to make the data available, to make it public. So we are providing satellite remote sensing services for different agencies, to the Ministry of Agriculture, to the universities and other governmental agencies and the local authorities. So we are moving to make the data public, available. So actually I can also share with a web page with you guys, so you can see the services that we provide. It's already published in the as a geospatial services and as a portal. So we're trying to move Koldao from this.
How many users are using this portal? Like, do you have?
there are different stakeholders of each portal, so it's divided. So there is an agricultural portal. There is a agriculture portal is also not a common. So it's actually there are two different portals. Like one of made for the pasture lands, another one made for the irrigated lands. So it's also like different stakeholders who are using it. It's divided by the departments of the ministry. We're trying to bring farmers to the platform. So I guess we will start to promote this portal in a few weeks, like to make the press releases and make sure that the farmers know that this data are available for free. So I guess we will need another month to make sure that everybody, as the decision makers, the local authorities and the private sector knows that this data is available. So this is our this is a direction that we're moving in right now as a KGS.
Yeah, I think an early warning system that reaches out to farmers directly, actively with, WhatsApp or email, probably WhatsApp to be honest.
We will use a Telegram as a
Telegram.
bot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is something that would be really useful.
Yeah, we have it in mind, so we will use a Telegram for these purposes to send the notifications or any changes that is happening on their fields. So we need to create a database at first.
Mm-hmm. An early prediction. Yeah, that sounds like it's a really good idea, and I think the situation is quite serious in terms of just each year being a worse and worse drought. in Kazakhstan. We were talking with Katarjan today, and he was saying it's like 4 years of continually worsening surface water conditions. So, and you know, the livestock are dying, and now there's like a program in place for compensation for dead livestock. That's just terrible. On another note, Ina, I think you have a network as well, right? Of people, of like companies in country with the milk producers, right? So there's some contact network there.
Yeah, absolutely. We work as on this project. We are in partnership with the European Bank for Kazakhstan Development. We work with the private sector, with agribusinesses, and our entry point is an aggregator. We used to have this dairy project which ended last year, and now we are on so-called COVID agribusiness resilience package. But this basically means we work with all livestock businesses, red meat, poultry, okay, it's not relevant, and dairy as well. And I think it's a very effective entry points, I'm repeating myself, for dissemination of information that we are all jointly working on, because one feedlot deals with hundreds of suppliers of animals, or same dairy company, because of a highly fragmented production structure. So yeah, we dialogue with the industry association. So whether it is a genetic chamber, a Hereford chamber, or dairy breed chamber, or it's a union of producers or processors. So there are several in Kazakhstan, all quite active and very, very valid partners to sit at the table and think together how we can effectively support people who work on the ground.
So what I mean, I'm not familiar very much with the terminology of different types of producers, but what I got essentially was that there's quite a few co-ops and like groups of producers that you're getting information from them right now, but you can potentially push the information the other way and it will get to the farmers, right?
Yes, well, in terms of producer types, like in both cases of either red meat industry or dairy, about 80 to 85% of output still comes from smallholders, or we can call them backyard farms. So not legally organized forms of ownership, let's say, okay, and other 20 from different types of organized businesses. Clearly, there is a potential. I mean, both need this information, but especially we as FAO, we see a lot of opportunities of shifting the farmers from this smallholder category into farming as business by providing them knowledge and information, and this is definitely possible in Kazakhstan.
Yeah, I remember you were saying that smallholder is kind of the biggest information gap that we currently have.
Exactly. Also because they are, I mean, it's in many, not only in Kazakhstan, this is a very typical to the region. They are kind of trapped in a middleman kind of situation. So who is definitely interested to keep a processor dependent on the raw material and the farmer not connected to the development process. But yeah, so but there is no strong cooperative movement, if you wish, like we see it in India or in other countries, due to objective historical reasons in our region. I mean, there are some forms that are technically called cooperative, but it's not this genuine horizontal linkages that we associate with the cooperative movement. No, it's not like that, which makes it even more difficult in Kazakhstan, to reach to each individual family basically and help them help them operate better. And precisely as we discussed with you on the phone, in our service structure, we have this little module on the plan of the plans of this little unit of production. And we were surprised to see how significant is the percentage of households who want to grow, but they just don't know where they can get the land, or where they can get the starting capital, where they can get the knowledge, which breed to choose. So all this, something that we as development community and private sector, we can definitely help them to do so. So there is a lot of work to do for us. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think to me, it sounds like right now the outputs of our work are understandable at the university level. And it's very hard for anybody to apply that. Even business level agriculture might have a hard time. And our real target is the smallholders, which is a very hard target. But I think getting, family size farms to be able to use this information is sort of the ultimate goal. And the economic incentivization is very tricky because, as you mentioned, like the larger businesses are not incentivized to share information, right? It's like it cuts down on the profits when the other people have when these smaller companies have options.
Well, but we see that, for example, take a large feedlot or whatever agribusiness in Kazakhstan, or even dairy factory or whatever. These companies, they actually invest a lot of time and efforts to disseminate the knowledge within the raw material catchment area, because they are 100% dependent on the success of that guys. Though people on the ground, they have other marketing channels, they can sell their milk into informal channel or to another processor, but businesses who want to develop, we see a huge effort and both like I say, human resource and financial to help each individual smallholder, including especially farmer, to develop and access the information. So this is a very clear, we would call it the trend. This is the mechanism of survival. We see that agribusinesses, they do invest in the raw milk catchment area, or the area where they source live animals for further value addition.
Milk catchment area, I like that. It's like kind of
sorry for the jargon. Well, I'm agroecologist by
hydrology.
education, so yeah, procurement area or catchment area, sourcing area.
Oh, yeah, it makes sense.
Stuart, I have a question for you.
Yes.
When you said that you adopted the code in the Google Earth engine, did you make any change to the code itself?
Yeah.
Okay.
So actually, the sections that were involved with the stocking rate or number of animals, I pretty much just wrapped those up into a function so they can run whenever you click on the button. So that made it easier to deploy an app that sort of runs a bit faster. And then I also use the FAO boundary areas instead of having manually imported boundaries. So,
Sorry on this. If we talk about Akmola, we wouldn't recommend using that boundaries because you have some districts missing. We can share the official boundaries from cadastre. The one we had this. You remember, Dr. Chi? We had this headache with the problems in the north of Akmola. We had issues with boundaries. So this.
Can do you have any influence over being able to actually update them?
Yes, the application that I've shared with you, even not got them. We had to adjust everything. we did some, yeah, there was some quite a work to do to clean everything, but yeah, the current boundaries that we saw on the app that you shared, they need some fix. We can help with, I mean, we can share what we have because we did this work already. You saw in the app that I shared, the link that I shared yesterday or before yesterday, the boundaries are slightly different.
Yeah. Well, I just assumed
another
since
reason.
You're FAO and we're taking the data from FAO that you might be able to update it directly there.
But when you say FAO, you mean FAO geoportal, or what do you mean FAO data? Because we are not, I mean, we are not custodians of cadastre, I mean, of boundaries. We use, for our purposes, we use GADMO depending on the accuracy, but I don't know what means FAO data.
There's the level 0, level 1, level 2 administrative boundaries data set on FAO GAUL that's hosted on Google Earth Engine, which allows us to just pull it directly in.
Okay, that must be geoportal. Okay.
There aren't really any other boundaries that I am aware of that we can just hook into directly from Google Earth Engine. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think I have the right people here. But
another reason, Stuart, I ask you is that in the code, Mark knows this, we did not take into account the DEM. We assumed the slope wasn't a big deal in the Akamola region. So be careful with that, either the app or with that subroutine. You may want to, revise that for the other obelisks, if they are quite hilly and the DEM changes quite a bit, and that animal travels, the distance they travel would be different. So think about that and see if that's the case or not in the other two obelisks.
Yeah, Stuart, that's going to be important if the slope is above 15%.
okay.
And so if it's below 15%, like we had almost uniformly across Akmola Oblast, then it doesn't impede animal movement.
Right.
You start moving to other regions of Kazakhstan down south where you have the high mountains, then you got to be very careful using that approach. And when slope gets above 50%, you can graze it with sheep and goats. I know that for a fact. We just say, don't do it because you end up just destroying the land with all their hoof prints. It's what we call, it gets terraced. And so that's in the report, those breakpoints when you need to be aware of what we turn into ADB. But if we stay in far northern, the three obelisks you talked about, I think those are all relatively flat, and it may not be a major issue. But if you go south, then you're going to have to adjust.
Yeah, there is one hilly area. I think it's the one in Uсть-Kamenogorsk area. I agree. I'm trying to remember what it's called. So that one, it has a few, well, we don't actually know where the rangeland is exactly. They just give us the coordinates of the farm. So what they're really using as rangeland, we don't know. I'm definitely aware that you set your slope factor to 1, but I don't know what, if it wasn't 1, what would the formula be to, how much weight does it have? So I would have to get that information or read about it.
Yeah, that information is either in the report or in the manuscript that we worked and we submitted to the Rangeland journal. But I can get you that information if you need it. And also there is I think a formula that basically calculates and they use the DEM information to calculate the slope. So that, I don't know if that part, code you adopted or not, but it is
There's a
there.
slope.
So
There's a slope layer.
yeah,
I mean, the
and
slope
that's
is there, and but it's a bit noisy. I'm guessing that's why you didn't use it, because some points
it
it
is
just shows that it's, infinity
right.
or whatever. And it's actually not.
It
It's
is
flat, right?
slope, yeah, it's supposed to be 0 if it's a flat, but I think it's because the DEM data, if you have holes in the DEM or the data
Yeah.
missing, then you got this problem. So that's how the data quality looks like. But it's just a warning sign for you to apply this to Haley area, that you may get some kind of strange numbers. You may get a
Yeah.
0 stocking rate or whatever happens. So anyway, so keep that in mind when you apply the method.
Yeah. Speaking of that, you also, directed at, I guess, FAO, you are using the ERA5 precipitation data. And although you have full coverage, I found it, well, the spatial resolution of chirps is much better in the areas that are covered in chirps. And I was looking into chirps a little bit, and the Climate Hazards Center that produces it, they also do this Rangeland for Central Asia tool. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but they also they did a thresholding where they actually have a vector map of where what they consider to be rangeland. They just cut off anything that has a high enough slope, and it's a really pretty vector map. It's pretty nicely smoothed out, and I think it's believable. So I might use that just to use as a sort of threshold.
Sure, those are kind of a data source that you can replace with any either updated version of the same data source or new data. And that includes not only just the DM, the precipitation, but also the, net primary productivity of the NPP. So if you have better NPP, I'm sure the European Space Agency, they are working on better NPP as well. So getting that better data might be another way to improve the accuracy for the estimates.
And the other thing, Stuart, I'm glad you guys are doing more on-site vegetation inventory, because one of the things we need to be cognizant of is, for our project, the on-site assessment of vegetation by species. We determined, and I'm going from memory right now, that about 22%, something like that, of the species we did not give credit for grazing, for forage. NPP from the satellite is not going to distinguish if it's forage or if it's non-forage.
Yeah.
And so your on-site surveys are going to be critical then as you move into various regions or as you move to a drought and different species become more prominent, for a correction factor to apply to NPP so you get the correct forage availability.
Yeah, and that's, you're reminding me, I was going to speak about that a little bit. So our survey app that we're developing, and what we also hope to have with in parallel, we'll have all of the transects from 2019 and 2021 in them. And if any of them are close to our Toyota Hiace as we're driving through these oblasts, we hope to stop by and collect another transect. So basically to go back and figure out what the dynamics are on that location that we've previously surveyed back a couple years ago. So this is a possibility that we're designing into it. And then, I mean, it's actually already done. We just haven't put the coordinates into the app yet because they're all on paper documents. Sorry, Gulnaz. It's useful though. I mean, it's fine how it is, but it's not quite machine readable 100% yet. Will be though. And the second thing, assuming this is a good idea to revisit these transects year after year, which I think you guys mentioned in your report, to try to understand, what the state transitions are looking like. What types of plants are taking over, what type of plants are dying out. Do you expect us to find more states than what you've seen in Akmola? Or do you think that we'll find in Pavlodar and East Kazakhstan the similar ecological states and similar? I mean, obviously the plant variation will be different, but given that the climate is quite similar, plus or minus, 20% precipitation.
I would anticipate that the general trend is going to hold across those three northern oblasts as far as species diversity, and probably the ecological sites and the trajectory of degradation when you're all in that northern tier grasslands. So I would think they'd be relatively similar. What's going to be more, because I don't know the other oblasts, I haven't studied them, will be the soils. These are lustful soils, I believe, and so they should be very similar across that whole area, going east to west. That then with similar climate, there are precipitation trends that go from east to west and north to south. So factoring in those, I think they're going to be very similar as a starting point, and then you can refine it.
And so, bouncing off of that, the causes for degradation on rangeland, we're looking at wind erosion in Akmola primarily. A lot of places have wind erosion. I might have totally done it wrong on the ERA5 wind layer. So what I did was create an average annual wind layer, basically that takes all of the predictions and averages them. I mean, it's literally just the average reducer. And then what we did find is some areas of higher variability, spatial variability, and some areas of high peak wind. But the high peaks were only like, 0.5 meter per second up to 1.5 meter per second on average. That still sounds high though as an average to me. So that, and then the fire, the Modus CCI5 fire model by burned area. To me, it sounds like something that we should watch out for. And essentially, rangeland that was just burnt the year before might not be as high productivity. But what other layers or cause sources should we be looking for, do you think? Is there anything that we should focus on when we're out there, really pay attention to?
Well, probably the 2 or 3 most important criteria is going to be ranch level information. And you're not going to get that from a remote sensing database or acquisition. And that is, when do they turn the animals on? When do they start grazing for the year? How many animals? And the distribution of animals by life type. So I mean, how many cows, sheep, or goats, or camels, or donkeys, whatever they have, you know, the total number of animals they have by class, because the different animals eat different vegetation. And then the number of animals and the size of area that they're grazing. That is probably, I mean, that will really dominate degradation or restoration and recovery during any climate sequence. And so the only way to get that is probably through interview of the operator or the rancher or farmer, if they're willing to be forthwith and honest with you. So, and what we were not able to determine, now Mara and her team did an excellent job, and we've got that inventory of ranches that she surveyed. But we really don't know how they move the animals around the property they have. And so you really don't know your true stocking rate, Stuart. I mean, we have generalized estimates. They have, you know, let's just pick an arbitrary number that ADB and the government of Kazakhstan was talking about. Maybe 200 beef cattle would be a good size for an independent producer to be economically solvent. How much land do they have? And do they have control of that land such that they are the only grazer? What we found both in person on our visits and then through talking with people, that the customs, there are very few fences. And so a neighboring producer may graze over the same property as somebody who in theory, you know, has control of the land. And so it's that on-farm, you know, livestock management, which is going to be key for establishing degradation or recovery processes. If you follow what I'm saying, Stuart.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I did watch the videos and read the reports, so you've mentioned this a few times. It's definitely a big problem. That there's a lot of chaos as far as where the animals are going, when, and what types of animals, and they, culturally speaking, they like to herd them. They like, you know, to do the cowboy thing and move them really far out to the water, wherever. The furthest water away, the best, right? For some reason. I don't think we can really, we can't collect maybe consistent or reliable information on the ground about that. What would be best is to try to model it and get good like averages of how many animals are maybe close to water or close to barns or, you know, other buildings, because they do bring them back to those buildings, right? Like they don't really wander further than 3 kilometers or something away from those. The other thing we're maybe doing, we're actually contractually obligated to use a drone somehow on this project. We probably will use like a drone deploy, and I don't know if you're familiar, but take a picture of all the animals and use ML counting to actually get a head count that's be much more accurate than what we ask the farmer to get the response. And we might be able to tell what type of animals they are as well. So we'll probably have more accurate numbers on how many animals are out there. But yeah, we'd have to monitor them for a while to really know what they're doing, how far they're going, and all that. Might not really be possible. So
on the number of animals, I mean, it's a very relevant topic on the quality of statistics and other numbers. Our experience says that the best proxy are the vets. Is that the budgets for the procurement of vaccines? Then you have real picture on the number of animals, and that seemed to be quite good.
Maybe we can take a drone imagery, count them, and then compare with what you have, if you have information on the veterinary budgets, and create a model from that.
Could be.
Yeah, it's a good idea to do that because I know the drone imagery can be used to count animals, even sheep. So you can fly them low and get good quality. What's the resolution for the NPP you are using? Still use MODIS, or are you using some sort of the model we created to downscale up to the Landsat scale?
I didn't modify your model. And actually
Okay.
you can, the code is shared directly in the agenda. So you can check it out.
Okay.
It's the same, I think it was 500-meter MODIS, right?
That's the one we used, yes.
All I really did was change the years. So we're using the most recent one. And it says which year it is on the layer. So, yeah.
Anyway, so Stuart, the door closed. I'm in the office. They close at 11 o'clock, so I might have to leave by 11. So in case I get locked in, it's a COVID situation here, so I need to leave at 11. Just for your information, but keep me posted as how I can help with this project.
Well, maybe Dulcim, you can explain a little bit of how the structure works, and we are planning on doing another call and sort of series of these things and more formalization of your involvement.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Stuart. Thank you very much, everybody, to provide your assistance to our project. Actually, on the remnants of the project of 2019, which was quite good actually, and it was not properly appreciated by the government and by the other entities, we decided to together with Kazakhstan to revamp it and make it again on a fair ground. So luckily we have with us Diana, who will be helping from Kazakhstan Harish Sapari side. So we have Ina and Gulnaz from FAO who will be helping us with the survey and other methodology. We have Mark and Dr. Chi, and we have our previous team, and also we have Myra from Kaznaru. Actually, that was the project which was it's from the proceeds of the grants from the World Bank. We provide the capacity building and the competence and the knowledge based to the and the administrator is the Ministry of Digitalization. And actually, we submitted our proposal. It's multifaceted. Also, we have a Texas University who is helping Kaznaru on the feed production.
Texas A&M, Mark.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, which is a slightly different component, but somehow it's more or less comprehensive and integrated approach. We were thinking of doing it in different areas, keeping, for example, Pavlodar or East Kazakhstan, South Kazakhstan, and then Central Kazakhstan to have a more diverse picture. But this time, due to COVID and other restrictions, we had only choice of having three sites, all of them more or less in a quite healthy situation from the water point of view and from the from logistics point of view. So hopefully that will be the pilot project, and if it's successful, we would like to expand that to other regions more under stress, I would say. Hopefully, I don't know, probably Myra could say a few words from the university point of view, but we had a meeting very interesting meeting with the Deputy Vice Rector Ismailov, who well perceived our initial report. So we expect that after this initial report, and we've explained our approaches, our methodology, our team, it was well perceived that we inviting as a steering committee members, all of you. And the next step is the field trip, which will take place probably, hopefully in mid-June. And then we'll have all the test results. we'll proceed that, we'll process that. And by the end of November, we hope that we will have the preliminary final, the pre-final results. And we would like to have conversations with you on a more regular basis, probably once in a month. Probably we will call you again right before the field trip, just to fine tune, to get the final approval from your side that our methodology and our approach is correct. And then we'll have a kind of a pre-final report right after our field trip in July. And then the final report will be held probably, we will have by the end of November. I would be happy if we can arrange a conference call, a Zoom call at some point after we complete the field results. We have the preliminary results, and from the scientific and research point of view, and also with the input from FAO and the KGS, we'll have more inputs, and we will be able to persuade the government, the World Bank, and the Ministry of Agriculture that this knowledge and this experience should be expanded throughout the regions. And our approach to, for example, to Kustanay region will be completely different from our approach to Turkestan or Jabul region. And it's very important, it's very vital that we can have this knowledge spread across the sector, to the researchers, to the farmers, to the big farmers, and also to the Ministry of Agriculture, who could make more appropriate decisions based on this knowledge and in the forecast and foresights, if you wish. So thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to meeting you next time. Probably, Myra, you would provide, you will share your opinion on this project. If we have Myra.
Myra had to disconnect because she is leaving to another meeting. So
all right,
she will catch up everything.
Okay, Diana, just to make sure that we have KGS on our site, all data will be available and open data, and we can share it with the research community, with farmers, and we can build up knowledge and competence and prognostics tools for the profit of our population, which is in desperate need.
So supporting you this initiatives, because I was from the beginning of this project, so happy to continue this and implement actually to the ground finally. So from Kazakh separate from the Kazakh Space Agency, if any data you need, we can share with you and participate to the ground truthing works probably easier. So
can you see cows from space?
Diana,
are the cameras good enough?
Depends what you need, so no worries, we can discuss this technically. So I need to also discuss this with my colleagues. What data we can share, just please give me the list of the data that you need. We also can provide you probably with the cadastral data or with data from the ISAG. This is a portal of the Ministry of Agriculture where they do collect the number of the cattle and livestock animals. We do have actually a lot of governmental statistical data already sourced from them, and we can actually sit up and look on that.
Excellent. Thank you, Diana. In fact, in the past, Dr. Mark and Dr. Chi, perhaps you remember we had the wish list. We have a page wish list ranging from the water table, because we understood we would never georeference the wells, for example, drinking points on rangelands, and other things. And from our side, on our FAO EBRD front, we are also georeferencing input provision, food industry byproducts provision to complement the ration, the feeding ration for animals, marketplace, and other elements. And as we were discussing with Stuart, and I would be happy to perhaps present one day, the structure of the way that we see this comprehensive product would be really to have in one place all the information related to the natural resource, to the industry itself, and to other services and inputs that feed into this ecosystem to make everything work with the highest efficiency possible without damaging the environment. So thanks for this offer. We will definitely come back to you.
There were some more projects that were part of the same Kaznaru program. I don't know, Dosun, Ina, you were asking about it on the last call. Dosun, I think you probably can explain, or maybe Kulnaz, or I don't know. Myra could probably explain it for sure, but there are some other things that are going on aside from rangeland inventory, such as the forage, fodder crop production, intensive production. Dosun, do you have any comment on that, on the other works that are being done?
Not yet. So we are subcontractors to Kaznau, so we are not entitled to disclose anything. But there are a few projects related to water, to irrigation, and I hope we'll come back soon with that. But it's still in a quite preliminary stage, and it was postponed due to obvious reasons, whether it's COVID, January events, and now.
Yeah. So
Well,
I guess
Stuart,
next time we will talk more about that stuff. But we'll keep everything open.
I'll help where I can, so just keep me posted. And if you want to send something to me to review, I'll try and get it back in a timely manner. We're going to be probably moving from Reno to Florida this summer, so there may be some time periods when I'm unavailable, but I'll let you know my schedule as much as possible. So it's not that I'm not interested. It's end of the month, we're traveling through Canada. We're driving up to Alaska to see my son. And that road has no cell towers. So there'll be time periods when I'm not available, but I'll keep you all posted. I'll help where I can. And I'm glad to see that this is going forward. And Dosun, your work with Mara and others, one of the other key aspects, and it's in our report, so I'm not going to go over it in detail, is because of the grazing sequences in northern Kazakhstan, your forage, your fodder production that you use for your winter feed, it's going to be absolutely key to having a successful, whether it's dairy or meat production, because you've got to feed them for 4, 5, 6 months, depending upon the year. And that's an absolute key thing for productivity, is getting high quality forage so that they come out of the winter in a reproductive state, so they can, calve again.
Yeah, Mark, thank you very much. We have a high risk of drought this year as well as that was last year case. And we don't know what will happen this year, but we'll keep you posted anyway. But if you're interested in somehow in this part of the world, beyond Russia and Ukraine, we can post you about the situation with the crop and the forage production.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just most interested in the forage production because that's so essential then for keeping the livestock enterprise operational. We've heard stories of them during the drought in Western Kazakhstan. They were pouring molasses on cardboard to try and feed them. I mean, I understand desperate measures, but that is going to be absolutely critical then. And Stuart, looking at the historical records, and it's in some of our work, these 3 to 5 year drought cycles are very, very common in Central Asia. I mean, you can count on them. You don't know when they're going to start and when they're going to end, but they are highly reoccurring. And so that's why we recommended that a livestock producer should have at least 25 to 40% more land than they need for any individual year in an average year, because they're going to be hit with drought. And if they're not prepared for it, then you're going to have death of animals and even destruction of your ecosystem. And so it's easy to say that from an analytical research standpoint. Now, how do they actually access that land is another whole question that I can't address. But we do know that droughts are very, very common in this part of the world. And then the other thing that hits them is the diehards, those cold winter, Siberian cold streams that come down in the early grazing season in April that freeze everything and kill all the grass out. So it may not be a drought, but it's just a catastrophic freezing period that takes everything out, and then you have no forage for the year. So Dosam's smiling, so he must be what I'm talking about.
That stuff.
It's like really doom scenario. Either it's extremely cold from Siberia or drought coming from Asia. So
yeah, it's a tough world. It's a tough world. If there's nothing else, Stuart, then I'm going to go ahead and log off. But please keep me in the loop, and I'll help where I can. Ina, it's really good to see you again.
Thank you.
If FAO needs something that I can help with, just let me know, and I'd be more than happy to chime in. And Golnaz, I didn't think we were going to see you, so it's nice to see you. So Diana, it's good to see you. One of the interesting aspects, I'll butt my nose in, Stuart, but let's see if I am accurate. That when we were there over the years, we met with the Kazakhstan Space Agency, and they had two satellites. I remember they called them Kaz-1 and Kaz-2, and they were set up with Landsat sensors. So the 30-meter resolution, the same sensor package as far as what they saw on their surface.
One of those is 30, the other one is 1 meter, I think.
Okay.
Diana, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
There is one a middle resolution, another one is a high resolution with a 1 meter.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. And they were geopositioned so that basically you got daily information. So you have the capabilities from a science standpoint, then potentially then to process that data and every 2 weeks produce an updated map of NPP for the country. And that could actually be used for real-time grazing assessments, for educated ranchers. But with your apps where you're going, it is, technically possible then to process that data and such that you're giving almost real-time assessments of the vegetation lagged by 2 weeks on where to graze, where not to graze, or you're coming into a drought. And so on and so forth.
This is services actually we are already providing for the Ministry of Agriculture.
Yeah,
they do provide on the monthly basis, I guess. I need to make sure on that, to check up with the colleagues, but we do provide on the monthly basis some prediction of the dry out, and also how the harvesting is going on, and how is utilizing the land, utilization of the land.
Yeah, so I mean,
during the
you have
sorry
excellent.
for
No, that's okay. That's great that you guys are doing that, because Stuart, there is your source then for just putting in your application and making it really usable to the rancher. Is taking the science in and making it in a usable format, so they can just look at the web. And
I think I need to make a friend at Google so we can upload to GEE from Casiosat 1. Yeah, that would be very cool. Before you go, I wanted to talk about just a couple of housekeeping things. So basically, we're going to be having a weekly email thread just to keep everybody up to date, there's also the Asana board. We can invite anybody if you want to check on the nitty-gritty tasks or the features that we're adding to the DSS app or to the survey app. Make comments on that as well, so we can add you in there if you want. We're also planning on having pretty regular calls, which would be kind of pro bono calls, volunteer calls, if you will, or hopefully funded by your organization. And for those of you who are not being funded, just reach out to us and we'll work something out, make sure your time is compensated for these primary calls. And we, like Dosum said, we're planning on having around 4 of these. So this is the first one throughout the whole work process. So you guys have a chance to review the work, and basically you're our early warning system to see where we messed up and hopefully make some corrections and improve before we get too far down the project. So please, if you do have time, read through that English version of our Inception report that's at the very top of the agenda and see if I'm far off on that. I would love to have your comments and anything else that we should add, especially from the software side, or alterations to the field sampling protocols. We want to know that now so that we can plan for that and actually implement it. Unlike last time, which was kind of a scramble to get everything in order. So thanks, everybody. If there are any other questions.
Thank you.
Thank you for organizing this.
Thank you. Thank you for organizing.
Thank you,
Thanks
everyone.
so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Good
Thanks,
night.
Mulaz.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Diana. Thanks, Ina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Mark.
much.
Thank you very much.
Good.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Evening.
All right,
Bye.
bye-bye.
Bye, Dr. Mark. Bye, Ina.
Goodbye, everybody.